to be back in those moments where there are some hard times and you're trying to teach them the right way and a good way so they can be good adults and responsible adults and happy adults and set them up for success. So you can just act like you're in a time machine and go back to that moment and step into it like, well, I could be 20 years from now, or I can be right now in the present. I can take a DeLorean with 1.21 gigawatts and step back into this moment like I get to relive it again.
Welcome to the Miracle Plant Podcast, the show that inspires, promotes, and gives you a daily dose of inspiration from the people who have used cannabis to change their lives in extraordinary ways. Here's your host, Justin Benton.
Welcome back to the Miracle Plant Podcast, where we discuss this miracle plant with so many names and how it's helping people in so many extraordinary ways. Well, today's journey brings us to gratitude and legacy. What are you grateful for? Like, every morning I wake up and I think, what are the things that I'm grateful for? Every Monday for our 101 CBD, 101 hemp organizations, we have a Monday morning meeting at 9 a.m. We've been doing it ever since we've been open, and we all, instead of talking about boring office procedures and things of that nature, we just all go around and talk about one thing that we're grateful for. That's literally what we do every Monday morning at 9 a.m. to get our minds and our heads in the right space for the week. And we all go around and we talk about one thing we're grateful for, whether it's involving this miracle plant, stories that we've heard from other people using the product, or how it's affected us in our own life, or it can just be a personal life, things that are going on that you're grateful for. Because remember, you can't be both grateful and fearful at the same time. So when you get yourself into a state of gratitude, looking for what's right, being thankful and grateful, that's when you can find that inner peace. And that's what we're all after more and more these days. So I challenge you to ask yourself right now, what are you grateful for? What are some grateful moments in your past? What were some of those moments in your life that you were completely happy and joyful? And really step into those moments and remember those moments and remember how you felt. And you can start to feel that way right now, every day, because a lot of us have goals and things that we want to do with our lives, and we always wait for someday, when I get this, or when I get that, or when the kids are out of the house, or when I have when I get that big promotion, or when I hit a certain dollar amount in sales or in the banking account, that's when I'll allow myself to be happy. And, I think there's this false hope that we think that when we get to some destination that all of a sudden life's going to be easy and there isn't going to be any problems and there isn't going to be any stress. So at the end of the day, how do you do that? You step into your gratefulness every moment of every day. What can you be grateful for? Some of the things that happen in life that were really difficult and challenging are the things that made us grow to be able to handle those kinds of things. And, we are but our own state of mind. A good friend, Tony Robbins, taught me that, we all have these emotional homes. And so your emotional home is like, what are the normal states that you're in on a day-to-day basis, right? So is your day-to-day emotional home, what are the common emotions that you have? Is it gratefulness? Is it joy? Is it happiness? Is it thankfulness? Is it excitement? Is it anticipation? What are all, you can look for all the positive things that you have. And sometimes we have the other side of that coin. Do you find yourself often stressed or anxious or worried or fearful? These negative emotions, part of it is programming, the hardware in our brains that we have. It's hardwired, that lizard brain, 2 million year old brain, looking for what is wrong. And that's why we stay focused on what we can be grateful for. Because when you're grateful, you can't be fearful. And you can switch the brain over. So next time you find yourself in a stressful situation, you ask yourself, what can I be grateful for? And start asking yourself, like, in 20 years from now, the situation that I'm in right now, will it still keep me in this emotional state? will I still allow this problem, this challenge that's before me to keep me in a negative emotional state? Or will I not even remember it in all likelihood? So if you won't remember it in 20 years, why are you allowing yourself to be stressed or anxious or fearful now? Because in 20 years, it won't matter. So why should it matter now? So again, these are these mental exercises that I've learned on my journey to finding peace and joy and happiness, is really staying focused on gratefulness and understanding the big picture. Because again, life's just, life's just trying to teach you things, right? And if you keep finding the same problems or issues that keep coming up, well, that's just a problem you haven't figured out yet. So it's an opportunity to figure it out. And I know, like Tony's partner, Dean Graziosi, says, if you want a better life, solve bigger problems. So, it's like a game. Like life is a game. Florence Scovel, the amazing author from the early 1900s, she talks about that as well. She actually has a book called Life is a Game, which I highly recommend reading. Florence Scovel Shinn. It's free on Audible, and you can also buy the books. And that'll be in the library as well. I already mailed one to Russell for Secrets of Success. But life is a game, and understanding these principles that allow us to get out of this fearful, negative state into a positive, joyful, happy, blissful state. And one of the secrets is being grateful. There's so much that we have in our lives to be grateful for. And sometimes we just don't take a moment to stop and realize all of the things that we're grateful for. Think about those things, 20 years ago that you always wanted, right? Whether it was your own car, I want my freedom, I want my own car, or whether it was getting into a college or graduating from college, or whether it was, having a great partner, romantically or business, or, if it was getting married, what are these moments in life that when you accomplish them, or when you achieve them, or when they happened, that state that you were in, right? And some of us obviously are having kids, and having that moment of how you feel when you first looked into your child's eyes, and usually, especially the first one, and then obviously if you're lucky enough to have a girl as well. Our first one was a girl, but it's different. I can only speak as a dad, but when you have a girl, or any child, boy as well, but that first one, I always tell, new expecting parents, I'm the oldest of 6, and my mom, Janet, who's been on a whole bunch, and we'll get her back on here soon. She's a middle child of 15, and she even has an Irish twin, which means her sister Mary and they were both born in the same calendar year. But my point is that when you have that firstborn, you start to learn what a new love is. And I tell others that. It's like, well, you think you know what love is, right? And you love yourself, or you might love your wife or your spouse. And then you have a child. And then that love is a whole new level of love. And you can't really describe it. Like even the way I'm describing it right now. If you don't have a child, and then you do have a child someday, then you will get it. And you'll be like, why didn't anyone tell me? And I'm like, well, we tried. But again, those moments in life that absolutely take your breath away, and you're so grateful, you're so happy. Well, look, those moments happened. And whether it's in the past or the future or the present, you can step into those moments and feel the same way that you felt then, right? The subconscious doesn't know the difference. The subconscious mind that runs 90% of our lives doesn't know the difference if what you're stepping into happened in the past, happened in the future, or happened right now. But you can experience those feelings on your life, on your journey, the entire time, right? We talk about Dr. Tom Osborne on here, the great Nebraska Cornhuskers football coach. And he has that, that beautiful quote about, not the victory, but the action, in the deed, the glory. So it's, actually doing the thing, enjoying the journey, enjoying the process, enjoying the pitfalls, and looking at it from a year from now or 20 years from now. I know Dr. Benjamin Hardy's new book, 10X is better than 2X. and the gap versus the gain talk about that perspective of like if you have kids and they're driving you crazy because they're messing up the house or they won't pick up their room or whatever it is, or they're just getting on your last nerve, pushing your buttons, right? And then he asked the question of 20 years from now, they're out of the house and they've got their own family or they've moved halfway around the country, around the world. What would you give to have those moments again when you're all under the same roof? I believe they say when your child reaches 18, you've spent 95% of the time you're ever going to spend with them. So how much would you give to be back in those moments where there are some hard times and you're trying to teach them the right way and a good way so they can be good adults and responsible adults and happy adults and set them up for success? So you can just act like you're in a time machine and go back to that moment and step into it like, well, I could be 20 years from now, or I can be right now in the present. I can take a DeLorean with 1.21 gigawatts and step back into this moment like I get to relive it again. And these are these mental insights, these mental secrets that we're talking about here to help people live their happiest lives, their most grateful lives. And that's what we wanted to talk about here today, just to help you step into gratitude, help you step into life, joy, whatever it is that you define it as. You can see these individual mental exercises, if you will. So I certainly encourage you to research these. That's what we're doing with Secrets of Success. And success doesn't have to just be financial. In fact, financial is just a piece of the puzzle, right? Whether success can mean having a healthy, happy family. We went around the table last night at dinner and asked some questions of all of us and my 4 kids and wife, and what is it that you want? If you could have one wish, what would that wish be? And you can't wish for more wishes, which is what I wish for. And it was fun to see the kids go around, and I think all of them said something about being healthy or happy with their family. And that's what I wish for and pray for every night. And so again, success can be having a healthy, happy family. Success can be having, obviously, financial independence or not having to worry about money. Another thing I like to remind myself and share is like, look, you've gotten through it, right? All the stuff, if you look through all the stuff that you've gotten through in your life, you made it. Even when it seemed the darkest and you didn't know how you were going to make it, you made it. You did it. And whatever the problem is you're facing now or facing in the future, you're going to get through it, right? And what are the best ways to get through the challenges of life or to learn? I always say there's 2 ways. You can learn from others that have gone through the exact same thing that you've gone through, or you can learn from your own mistakes. If you learn from your own mistakes and see the lesson, pick yourself back up and get it done. And again, that's what the Secrets of Success is all about. We're doing the membership launch here any day now, and if you're listening to this in the future, it's already out. secretsofsuccess.com is the website where we are collecting the greatest minds and thought leaders of personal development ever to walk this earth, starting around the 1850s all the way till present day. And we're going to deep dive into these specific ideas, specific authors, specific focus. Like today we're talking about gratitude, right? Being grateful. It is such an important piece of the puzzle of just being happy. I don't know anybody that is quote unquote successful, and whether that's health, happiness, financial independence, spirituality, family, you name it, physical health. I don't know anyone that I've met that has made it, quote unquote, that isn't grateful, that doesn't understand the importance of grateful. That's one of those hacks. The brain is hardwired to look for what is wrong. We have the opportunity to look for what is right? You get what you focus on. And so whatever, like Tony says, whatever is wrong, Whatever isn't going right is always available, but so is what is going right. So I just encourage you to look for what is going right, because you can literally reprogram your brain with the neurotransmitters and the neurons that fire. It actually rebuilds like a bridge over the old ways of thinking. You can literally reprogram your brain to look for what is right, and that will help you find happiness, find joy, find peace, all of the things that we're all looking for by looking for what is right. So, well, I was walking back from dropping off my bike. I got a new big ripper 29-inch BMX bike, and getting the brakes worked on, and had some time to squeeze in. I was on another amazing podcast that I'm going to bring here to the Miracle Plant podcast. It was called Atypical Parenting. So that was a really cool podcast that I did this morning. So be on the lookout for that one. I also did another one called Powerful Parenting with Stephanie Dove Blake, which will be coming out soon, and I'll probably bring that to the podcast as well. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for podcasts. I'm grateful for you listening. I'm grateful that I can share my message and what I learned and pass that on to future generations, right? I feel like we're all connected, right? I was just walking in the natural botanical gardens this morning with the family. Nice, really beautiful hike overlooking the ocean out here in Ventura, California. And it was talking about how interconnected we were. I was listening to some Van Morrison, just walking with the 4 kids and the wife, and Molly's parents were there, and how interconnected we are. And I feel it's my moral obligation to pass on what I've learned, because that's my legacy. So whether I'm passing it on here in the podcast or conversations, or at the Secrets of Success, on stage, is to say, this is what's worked for me, or this is what I've seen work for others. And so I can pass it on, right? From one cell to another, from one human to another, from one mind to another mind. Pass on the things that have worked for me to make the future generation's life a little less burdensome. We live in a very different life. Things have changed quite a bit over the last 20 years. With the invention of the iPhone, with the invention of social media. I often think about what was life like before then, because I lived that life. I remember when you had to go home and actually listen to your answering machine, right? It definitely was hard. If you didn't meet up with somebody at the right time at the right place, that was kind of tricky. You might not see them that day, and try it again the next day. But there was a beauty in the things that we weren't constantly staring at these screens and constantly being, focused in this alternative reality versus all the beauty that's around you. So I encourage you too, as another secret, is to get outside, breathe in the air, go for walks. If you're lucky enough to be by some body of water, which I believe 90% of the country is, then go swim in it, or go boating on it, or just go walk by it. And you'll see how connected we all really are. And those are just some of the secrets that I like to pass along to hopefully lift up your day. And as we talk a lot about here on the Miracle Plant podcast, there's 5 pillars of health. And the pillar we're obviously talking about today is mindset. The other is food and nutrition. The other is exercise. The other is hydration. And the other is sleep. Those are the 5 pillars. And if you do those 5 pillars, that's true holistic healing. Whatever issue you're facing, your body, your brain will do its job if you do your job and make sure that you're taking care of yourself the best way you know how. So thank you so much for swinging by the Miracle Plant podcast. I hope that this episode brought some insight, some joy to your life so you can live your fullest life and pass it on to the next person, whether it's by launching your own podcast or doing or posting on social media, or just a conversation that you have with a loved one or family or friend. So on the count of 3, we're going to say heal the world, because that is the mission here at the Miracle Plant podcast, to reach 1 billion people about the power of this miracle plant, especially in the raw form of CBDA that we've seen help thousands upon thousands of families And we want to help those families out there that are in need, that are looking for hope, that are praying for a miracle, that they can find out the power of this miracle plant and the power that we have within inside of us to take control of our health. So on the count of 3, we're going to say heal the world, so that energy can get out there or someone can hear it or find it. You can share this on your social media, take a screenshot and tag me, or you can just forward it to an individual. Say, hey, you got to listen to this show. There's really telling us the truth about taking control of our health. So on the count of 3, let's say heal the world and get out there and do it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Heal the world! Thanks for swinging by the Miracle Plant Podcast. Be sure to tune in next week. We'll have some great guests and insights about this miracle plant and taking control of our health. Be a blessing, everybody, and happy healing!
Thanks for listening to today's show. To check out more great cannabis podcasts, go to PodConx.com. Here's a preview of one of our other shows.
Hey guys, Montel here, inviting you to check out my podcast, Let's Be Blunt with Montel, where we have candid conversations about everything cannabis. We have over 250 episodes in our library, and a new show drops every single Thursday. So be sure to subscribe, and if you like what you hear, make sure you leave us a review.